Xayrli kech. Xayrli kech butun dunyodagi barliq vatan suygan qarindoshlarimiz, Uyg'ur qarindoshlarimiz, menga o'xshash qalbi ezilgan, o'zini xo'rliq his qilayotgan, vatan millatni sevgan barliq Uyg'ur qarindoshlarimga men erkin ro'zi har qanday vaqt bir yaxshi xabarlarni yetkazsam degan umidda bo'lsaqmi qarindoshlar, biz asaratda bo'lgan, zulmda bo'lgan bu millat, bu xalqning bugungi kunning o'zida xo'shallik xabarni topmoqning o'zimi zaten bu nayt bir taski to'xtaydigan bir kun bo'lib qoldi qarindoshlarimiz. O'zinglarga ko'pchilikka men takrar deb o'tdim, mediaga chiqish, ko'pchilik millatim bilan o'ltirib bir yaxshi xabarlarni yetkazish mening orzuyim. Nishonim bo'lsa-mu, ammo men yaxshi xabarlarni tep bo'lolmadim. Shu sababdan mediaga chiqishdan iborat bu narsa men uchun aytganchaqda eng og'ir, eng tas narsa deb ko'pchilikka deb kelgan qarindoshlar. Yana bugun sizlarning oldinglarga chiqib, azroq bir tavsiyada millat xalq uchun azroq bir tavsiyada bo'lish uchun oldinglarda turyapman vatandoshlarimiz. Xabaringlarda bor. 2 kundan birisi YouTube'ga qarasanglar Uyg'ur davlatida, ya'ni Uyg'ur jazo lagerlarininki ahvolininki, ya'ni tashqi dunyodagi ma'lum bir maxfiy hakkerlar guruhininki oshkorlagan maxfiy hujjatlar haqidagi dokument xabaringlarga yetdi. Facebook'lardami bor. Men ko'plab o'tirib share qildim, qo'shib oldim. Hamma narsa ko'pchilik turdi. Bugungi qiziq nuqta, ya'ni insonlarga nisbatan bir insonlikni suydigan dunyoga nisbatan bir echinishlik nuqta, ya'ni Uyg'ur davlatidagi shu jazo lager masalasi, Uyg'urlarning irqiy qirg'inchilik masalasi Facebook, bo'libmi YouTube, mayli BBC bo'lsin, Al Jazeera bo'lsin, butun dunyodagi kanallarni bir oldi qarindoshlarimiz. Shu munosabatlarni meniki kayfiyatim nihoyat og'ir. Bu tunji qata tashqi dunyoda shu hakkerlarninki rasmi bilan, Uyg'urlarning rasmlari bilan, kimligi bilan, ayni chiroyi bilan bu jazo lagerdagi Uyg'ur qarindoshlarimizning echinishlik fojialik ahvolini tunji qata mening bilishimcha oshkorlashi qarindoshlar. Meniki bu munosabatdan ko'pchilik deydigani hozir men videoni qo'yib berman, qo'yib bergandan keyin meniki ko'pchilikdan azroq bir tavsiyarim, talabim bor qarindoshlar. Avval men bu vaqtda meniki 2 qatimliq 2 dona video va videoni qo'yib bersam, anglasanglar, andin men bir o'zimning ko'z qarashimni desam qarindoshlar, jiq vaqtinglarni olmayman qarindoshlarimiz. Mening kayfiyatim og'ir, kayfiyatim nachar. Urug' tuqqan ota-onalarimizni sizga o'xshashlik ko'migili aloqa qilmag'ili ta 2017 18-yildan tortib bo'ldi. Bu Uyg'urlarningki ayni rasmlari bilan bu fojialik ahvollardan chiqishi menga o'xshash, xuddi sizlarga o'xshash ota-ona urug' tuqqanlarining andishi daktukisini qilayotgan qarindoshlar uchun aytganchaqda bir fojia, bir og'ir xabar deb o'ylayman qarindoshlarimiz. Avval video xabarni ko'ringmi? Dünyada taqalgan media xabarlari bilish kerak dunyo.
Well, thousands of files, including photographs from China's secretive system of mass imprisonment in Xinjiang, are among a huge cache of data hacked from police computer servers in the Chinese region. They're being called the Xinjiang police files and were passed on to the BBC earlier this year, but then authenticated by Xinjiang experts months later. They appear to show signs of distress among Uyghur inmates, with armed guards visible in the background. The leaked files contain 250,000 identities inside the re-education camps. Now, the youngest among them is just 15 years old. The oldest is 73. The data also includes spreadsheets detailing long sentences given to inmates, including this man, who is serving a 16-year term for offences including growing a beard under the influence of religious extremism. The revelations are at odds with Beijing's claim that these facilities are schools guiding willing students away from extremism. Now, the leaks come as the UN UN's human rights chief is visiting China, where allegations of human rights abuse in Xinjiang are expected to be high on her agenda.
One will be discussing some very important issues, some sensitive issues. I hope this will help us in confidence and enable us to work together in advancing and promotion and cooperation of human rights in China, also at the global level.
Our East Asia correspondent Bill Birtles is with us. Bill, give us a sense of what has been revealed among these documents.
Well, Bev, two things. First of all, the documents play a very important role in putting faces and names to the detainees who have spent time in these re-education prisons in recent years. The documents are actually dating from about 2017, 18, 19 or so. They're not in the last couple of years, but they include about 5,000 mugshots of either detainees or residents in Xinjiang who had their photos taken at police stations. And according to the researchers who are involved in trying to verify this, they claim that around 3,000 of those people in the mugshots were actually interned inside the centres that they can verify. So it's very important, I think, in terms of humanising exactly who are these people and what are their ages, what are the reasons supposedly that they deserve to be treated this way according to the Chinese state. That's the first element. But the second element, Bev, which is new, is that there are photos from inside the camps which have been used for police training and guard training, which shows incredibly repressive techniques, things like blindfolding and handcuffing students. Remember, according to the Chinese government, these are students. Blindfolding and handcuffing them if you are transferring them between facilities, techniques to subdue them if there are problems inside the centres. But probably the most worrying or the most disturbing revelations are in the instructions to guards, which say that if detainees attempt to escape and they ignore warning shots, then the guards should shoot to kill. These are new details, Bev, which over the last few years we haven't seen before, and that's why this particular leak of hacked data is incredibly important to understanding what the Chinese government has been doing in Xinjiang.
Yeah, and does it give ammunition? We've got the UN Human Rights Commissioner who's in China and set to visit Xinjiang to try and get an understanding of what is actually going on there. Does that give her more ammunition? Does it give her, something to put to the Chinese government about the reality of what's happening there?
Yeah, obviously the timing is pretty interesting because the chief researcher involved in this is Dr. Adrian Zenz, a German who is US-based and for the past few years has been the leading human rights researcher into the Chinese government's activities in Xinjiang. Now, he claims that he obtained this hacked data from an individual. The BBC, which is one of the media outlets reporting it, says that they have made contact with that individual, but obviously they are not identifying who that person is. So we don't know. I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that it could be, US CIA, or it could be a foreign government, or it could just be private hackers. But that's maybe beside the point, because there has been extensive verification efforts made by Dr. Zenz, peer-reviewed by others, to try and verify the authenticity of these documents. And it also does complement much of the material that has already been publicly put out there. Now, as for the UN Human Rights Commissioner Michelle Bachelet, she's arrived in China on a 6-day visit, which the Chinese government says will be conducted in a closed loop due to COVID. So there will be no reporters allowed to travel with her. There will be no possibility of any unscripted access or interactions between her and people in Xinjiang because supposedly everybody will be kept away from her because of COVID reasons. But the timing, you would suspect, has been deliberately done to coincide with her visit, because it would have taken an extensive amount of time for all these documents to be verified. So why release it now? Quite clearly because she's making this long overdue visit to Xinjiang.
Yeah. I noticed that Beijing says that they hope that her visit will be able to clear up any misinformation. Now, I mean, how concerning is it that she'll be given proper access and that she'll be able to really ascertain what is happening in Xinjiang?
I don't think, Bev, there are any expectations that she will be really able to ascertain what's going on. I don't think she would be under that impression. She's gone to China not saying that it's an investigation, but rather that she is seeking to better understand the situation and to improve human rights in China. That's probably an idea of the sort of mild-mannered diplomacy that a UN official these days needs to conduct in order to get any sort of access. So I think expectations of her being given some sort of real investigative visit and access are pretty low to begin with. But it will be interesting to see what she says at the end. She says that there will be a press conference. I don't know if that will take place in China or elsewhere. But certainly there is now a very extensive amount of material, both leaked today, but also that we've seen previously published by the New York Times and other human rights groups, which she would be able to draw upon when making assessments about how transparent Chinese authorities will be with her.
Qarindoshlarimiz, men bu narsalarning hammasini so'zma-so'z sizlarga tarjima qilib bergandek, menda unchalik alohida iqtidorim yo'q. Ingliz tilini men sizlarga degan 3-4 yil bo'ldi o'rganayotgan deb. Yaxshi bildigan do'stlar, Facebook sizlarning ochiq bo'lgandan keyin mediani qo'yib, mendan yaxshi tarjima qilib bersanglar bo'ldi. Tarjima qilish ig'ir. Hammani to'liq 100% tarjima qilib ketamayman. Asosliq mazmuni xabarda deyotdi, ya'ni maxfiy. Mushu oshkorlangan hujjatda yuqorisi 70 yosh, to'ni 15 yoshlik bo'lgan insonlarning 3000 ga yaqin Uyg'urningki jazolagerda ekanliginingki, bu yerda fojialik ahvollarning sizlar biz faraz qilgandami ig'ir ekanligini o'tirib qo'yapti qarindoshlar. Buning hamma detallarini biz anglagan xabarlar rostmidi, yolg'onmidi degan narsani bugun ammo dunyo, insonlikni sevgan dunyo nima bilan, faktlar bilan, rasmlar bilan jazolagirdagi insonlarniki hammasining rasmlarini o'tirib qo'yib beradi. Mening bu chiqib mediaga chiqib buni o'tirib qo'yishimdagi sababim, men medianing o'zidan dedi qarindoshlar. BDT inson haqlari komitetining boshlig'i Mishail bugun Uyg'ur davlatiningki poytaxti Urumchida ashada ziyorat bo'lyapti. Xitoy hukumatiningki qanchalik yeligaligini zaten bu Uyg'urlar Xitoylar bilan ostida yashayotgan Uyg'ur xalqi yaxshi bilgan bilan dunyo xalqi buncha yaxshi bilib ketmesi kerak. Xitoy hukumati Mishail bo'lgandan keyin onayni nayt yaxshi yerlarda kutib oladi. Otelda kutib oladi. Virusda o'tirib necha kun karantina qilish mumkin vaqt kelib qolsa. Aniqki oningki ko'zlagan maqsadi bo'yicha erkin, ozoda, xohlagan yerini, xohlagan Uyg'urni, xohlagan o'z degan jazolagerlarni ziyorat qilishing imkoniyatining yo'q ekanligini bu videoda deyotdi, ham biz Uyg'urlar bilamiz. Mushundaq vaqtning o'zida, masalan, Mishail Uyg'urlarga, o'sha Uyg'ur davlatiga berib, o'shaning o'zida Xitoyning chayin ishchib mehmondochiligini ko'rib, otelda yetib, Xitoylar qo'yib bergan o'tirib Uyg'urlarning nag'ar sonay bilan usul o'ynayotgan videolarini ko'rib kelib, balkim tashqi dunyoga kelib, mening ko'rgan vazliyatim shu Uyg'urlar yaxshi yashayapti deyishim mumkinki. Bu ehtimolliklarni men yo'q deyamayman. Mushundaq vaqtning o'zida mushuning o'xshash hujjatlarning o'tirib chiqib, maxfiy materiallarning o'tirib chiqishi qarindoshlar Mishailga sen mayli u yerga berib Xitoy hukumatiningki kontrolli ostida erkin ziyorat qilamagan bo'lsangmi, ammo bizning qo'limizda yetarli isbotlar dunyo hammasi eshib turdi, bilib turyapmiz, ko'rib turyapmiz degandek bu bir Allohning irodasi bilan o'tirib chiqdi qarindoshlar. Demak bu Mishail u vatanda qandaq narsalarni ko'rib Xitoy kompartiyasininki yetakchilik ostida, kontrolligining ostida balkim Xitoylar deyishi mumkin, hokimiyat deyishi mumkin. Sen tashqi dunyoga chiqqandan keyin men ko'rganlarim bo'yicha Uyg'urlar mana shundaq baxtli yashayotdi, xotirjam yashayotdi. degan narsalarni, degan Xitoyning yaxshi propagandasini qilgan so'zlarni qil deyish mumkin. Mushundaq vaqtimizda bu dokument, bu materiallar o'tirib chiqdi. O'tirib chiqqanligi bizcha aytgan vaqtimizda, yana Xitoy hukumatı har qanday qilib inkor qilaman degan bo'lsa-mu, Uyg'ur erkiy qirg'inchiligini inkor qilolmaydiganligining bir yetarlik isboti bugun 2 kundan birsi bu Facebook, YouTube'ning o'zida BBC'dan tortib Al Jazeera'gacha bu ustida turyotdi. Qarindoshlar, bu bizcha aytgan vaqtimizda nihoyat bir yaxshi ish. Bu yana birsi Uyg'ur tarixida, Uyg'urning mustamlik tarixi aytgan vaqtimizda tunji qata BDTga o'xshash yuqori organniki, Mishailga o'xshash yuqori organlarniki Uyg'ur davlatini inson huquqi bo'yicha tunji qata ziyorat qilishi, inson huquqini kuzatish bo'yicha tunji qata ziyorat qilishi deb turib tushunaman qarindoshlar. Agar xato bo'lib qolgan bo'lsa, buni Uyg'urlarning ichida siyosatchilar bor, siyosatchilar qaytadan tushundirsa bo'ladi. Mening bilishimcha bu tunji qator ziyorat qilish. Mushundaq bir tarixiy hal qilg'uch bir vaqtning o'zida Xitoyning propagandasini qilib, propagandasi bilan yaxshi tashviqot qilishniki qilish ehtimolligi bo'lgan mushundaq sharoitning o'zida bunga o'xshash bir materiallarning o'tirg'i chiqishi, demak ki bu yerda o'tirib xalqaro jamiyat mayli qanday bo'lsin, bizning qo'limizda yetarlik isbot va dokumentlar bor degan narsalar o'tirg'i ko'rinib turdi qarindoshlar. Shuning uchun men vatandoshlarimga deydiganim bu orqali, meningki vatandoshlarimga deydiganim, biz bunga nisbatan ma'lum bir reaksiyon, ma'lum bir o'tirib o'zimizning noroziligi bo'lishi kerak. Bu norozilikni biz boshqa jihatlarda ifodalab bo'lmaymiz. Vatandoshlarga deydiganimiz, qo'limizdan kelishicha biz o'tirib bunga nisbatan norozilik namoyishlarini mayli tashkilotlar bo'yicha bo'lsin, mayli shaxslar bo'yicha bo'lsin, mumkin qadar mushuna qadar mening vatandoshlarim deydiganim bir norozilik namoyishlarini biz yana uyushtirishimiz kerak, harakat qilishimiz kerak. Mishailninki Uyg'ur davlatidan qaytgan vaqtida Xitoyning propagandasi bo'yicha tashqi dunyoga tashviq qilmasligimiz uchun, tashviq qilmasligi uchun biz buning uchun bir mushu dokumentni asos qilgan asosda biz yana o'zimizning reaksiya bir tashviqot, norozilik namoyishlarimizni qilishimiz kerak deb turib o'ylayman. Buni vatan so'ygan, menga o'xshash barliq qarindoshlarimiz qanday tushundi, mencha bo'lgan chaqda to'g'ri tushunadi deb o'ylayman. Qo'limizdan keldigani bu kunning o'zida namoyish bo'lyapti, norozilik namoyishlari bo'lyapti. Al Jazeeraga o'xshash, BBCga o'xshash butun kanallar bizga, masalan, Norvegiyaniki Aftenposten degan gazetlarda butunlay o'tirib, butun jazo lageridagi Uyg'urlarning rasmlari bilan o'tirib, bet to'shib ketgan Aftenposten degan gazetlarga chiqibdi qarindoshlar. Demak, bu maslikaga vaqtning o'zida mening ko'pchilikka bo'lgan aktivistlarga, vatan so'ygan qarindoshlarimizga, tashkilotlarga, butun Uyg'ur xalqiga deydiganim, mushu Mishail bir tarixiy bosqichda Uyg'ur davlatini ziyorat qilayotgan vaqtning o'zida bu dokument o'tirib chiqqandan keyin buning nisbatan xalqimizning norozilik namoyishlari mencha bo'lgan chaqda ko'chada ko'rilgini men cho'g'achaqda eng yaxshi, eng to'g'ri ish deb turib qarayman. Shuning uchun qo'lidan keladigan, vaqt soat yetadigan barliq qarindoshlarning bir namoyish faoliyatlarga ib berishni men umid qilaman qarindoshlarimiz. Oxirida meniki sizlarga yana bir ko'rsatadigan bir videoim bor, 3 minutlik. Ko'rib baqsanglar bo'ldi, ko'rgandan keyin men so'zimni oxirlashtiray qarindoshlar. Qarindoshlarimiz, sizlarga o'xshash bizning ko'nglimiz yerim. Men vatandoshlar har zamon o'ylayman, bir yaxshi xabarlar bo'lsa, Uyg'urlarning mustaqilligi to'g'riliq, vatandagi xalqning shu vatandagi xalqningki shu amaliy ahvolini bir yaxshi bo'lgan bir xabarlarni o'tirib ochsam degan orzu umidildi. Ammo sizlarga o'xshash men izladim, men tepolmayapman, amal yo'q. Shuning uchun ba'zi masalalarni mushundaq o'tirib qo'yishga men majburman qarindoshlar. To'g'ri tushuninglar, vaqtinglarni elib
So the new evidence really shows that this is a campaign to break a people. is, after all, most likely the largest incarceration of an ethno-religious minority since the Holocaust. So we can no longer say business as usual. And the new evidence really underlines the nature of this atrocity. So the new evidence really shows that the re-education or the so-called vocational training in Xinjiang is nothing to do with poverty alleviation, nothing to do with helping people to get jobs. It's about brutal brainwashing. It's about putting them in prison camps, guarded by heavily armed police. We have evidence, in the watchtowers that they use military-grade machine guns and sniper rifles in the watchtowers. And it's very clear that this is a campaign to break a people, to brainwash a people. So what we're seeing in the region is sort of Beijing's master plan to control, to break the back of entire ethnic groups by interning people, masses of people, key people, the old generation. We see how many elderly people are in the camps. We see that from the data. It shows like the taking out of a whole generation that's been transmitting cultural and spiritual knowledge, and of children being put into boarding schools. It's a whole program of assimilation, of assimilating an entire ethnic group.
Qarindoshlarimiz, o'zi xabaringlarda ma'lum bo'lgan, o'zinglar yaxshi bilasizlar. Uyg'ur erkiy qirg'inchiligini tonishtirish eng asosli sababchi bo'lgan bu Adrian Zinis apandimning so'zlagan so'zi. Bu 2. Dunyo urushidan keyin u burma so'zi degan 2. Dunyo urushidan keyin erkiy qirg'inchilik, ya'ni Holocaust, Natslar Germaniyasining Yahudlarga bo'lgan erkiy qirg'inchiligidan keyin eng cho'ng bir fojia deb tushundirdi. Burungi videolardan tatib hozirgacha. Mazmuni sizlar biz anglagan bilan o'xshash. Qarindoshlar, buni tafsiliy tarjima qilishning hojati yo'q. Men bu orqali Uyg'ur millati uchun men har qanday vaqt videolarini ko'rsam, Adrian Zinis apandim so'zlab o'tib oxirida bir qator yig'laydi. Men bu apandimga ko'pdan ko'p o'zimning rahmatimni bildiraman. Mening millatimda bakaraq yaxshi so'ydi. Uning xizmatini qildi. Meningcha millatimiz to'nkaydirish tegishli bo'lsa, Adrian Zinis o'xshash mushu insonlarga chuqur bir qator to'nkaydirish kerak deb o'ylayman. Qarindoshlarimiz, mening ko'nglim berim, sizlarning vaqtinglarni olmay, bundoq fojialarni ko'rib, hech qanday bir Uyg'urning vatan millatini so'ygan, insonlikni so'ygan bir Uyg'urning ko'ngli yerim bo'lmaydi deb o'ylamayman qarindoshlar. Vujudida Uyg'urning qini bo'lgan, insonlik qini bo'lgan, insonlarningki ko'ngli yerim bo'lmaydi deb o'ylayman. Ko'ngillarni yerim qilg'im yo'q qarindoshlar. Mening eng og'irda tavsiyam shu, butun tashkilot rahbarlariga, vatan so'ygan qarindoshlarga, vatan millatni so'ygan, insonlikni so'ygan barliq qarindoshlarga bugun BTT'ningki boshlig'i, inson huquq komissarining boshlig'i Mishail Uyg'ur davlatida, mustamliki Uyg'ur davlati, ya'ni Xinjiangda ziyorati bo'lib o'tdi. Mushundaq vaqtning o'zida mening atim namoyishim bo'ldi, erkin bo'lib ketganman. Xalqimizning o'zining bir norozilik namoyishlarini buni qarta bildirishni umid qilaman qarindoshlarimiz. Kashliginglar xayrli bo'lsin, ko'rishga omon bo'laylik.